Hello and welcome. I'm a little bit early tonight. Yes, it's Wednesday night. I'm pretty tired. It's been a big week so far. There's so much going on in everything. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. I have to tell you, absolutely crazy. Um, yeah, absolutely crazy. And it's bizarre everything that's going on at the moment. So there's a big warning in my opinion, there's a very big warning to the Wilkins, and that is don't cross Katie Joy because all of your dirty laundry is going to be spread out everywhere. Um, all of it. So I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. So we want to look over what has happened in the past 24 hours. Uh, sorry, so I'm looking. I was just seeing what was in if there was any live videos. I don't think they save live videos, do they, in TikTok these days? Unlike Instagram. So we need to look at Instagram. And we need to look at, she's done some videos. So she's done a video today about apparently, allegedly, Gypsy's broken parole. I don't know whether that's hopeful. Then she's done another one about apparently Katie has a new source that is spilling the tea. So I don't know who this is, but apparently this person says that Gypsy's been saying that she wasn't in the bathroom the whole time. Now, Katie needs to understand that there would have to be total new evidence for her to be recharged with a crime that she's already served time for. It's called double jeopardy, and they would have to prove that it wasn't, that they would have to prove, oh yes, mustard. They would have to prove that there was a miscarriage of justice or something, and be able to show new evidence. So the only other way she can do it is if she can prove that she's breaking parole. So how are you going, Peter? I upset the education minister today because apparently he said the federal government was committing to funding the underfunded public schools in Northern Territory, and I said, well, there should be no underfunded public schools in the whole nation, mate. That didn't go down very well, but it's true, right? There should be no underfunded public schools at all. There was something else I had earmarked for today, and I thought, oh, do I go down this path? And then I went, I'm demonetized. It's not as if they can stop me from earning money because I'm not earning money anyway. You know, they can go stick it where the sun don't shine. But anyway, I can't remember what it was now. So here is her story. And then she's done a whole video on it too. As I told you last week, Gypsy Rose Blanchard could be sent back to prison. I have been told that Gypsy was busted for violating her parole. Gypsy willfully and flippantly defied her parole rules not to contact any prison inmates incarcerated at her former prison. Gypsy was reported for communicating with no less than 3 separate inmates. While my source didn't know who reported her, Gypsy was using her ex-husband's Ryan's phone to bypass detection to take calls from inmates. Details coming soon in a video. Little Miss, this person, provided me all the receipts, which will be shown in my upcoming video. Make sure you follow her on TikTok. She's raising awareness for the case of Amelia Bird. Now, Amelia Bird, interesting, I believe, is guilty as well. Anyway, you hit up Brendan O'Connor, and then he retired. Interesting. Okay. So she tagged. This is the woman she tagged. Right. She's polyamorous, by the way. That's who she's hit up. That's who she said supplied her with all the receipts. Interesting. I thought she didn't like polygamy. Or is it only polygamy unless she can get something from you? Is that what it is? Then she's got allegedly for your entertainment. Hello, Amber Portwood Parole. Can you give me the number for Gyp's officer? Yes. Allegedly for your entertainment purposes only. A former friend of Gypsy Rose Blanchard alleges that she told them something that left them shocked. The two of them were talking about past trauma. The friend opened up about her confronting their abuser. And out of nowhere, they alleged Gypsy said, I wasn't in the bathroom the whole time. Realizing she'd just slipped up, Gypsy allegedly quickly changed the subject. At the crime scene, Dee Dee was covered by blankets and had a stuffed Barney by her head. Nick Gottingen insisted that he never covered Dee Dee and didn't ever see the stuffed Barney. He couldn't explain how that happened. He only confessed to 4 wounds. There were 17 in total, and many appeared to be done in a fit of rage and passion. Gypsy always points out that she could never unalive anyone, but then she admitted to there's a gun there, her mum 10 times with a BB. She always said she couldn't do anything like that with her hands, which, they say narcissists always tell it themselves. So why did Gypsy make this weird statement to her friend? Who knows, but certainly makes you wonder what Nick Gottingen hadn't said and if he's protecting Gypsy still to this day. Just an allegation of an alleged conversation. Don't bang the messenger. So I shouldn't have said bang the messenger because I don't know anyone that would want to bang. I walked into that one, didn't I? So then we've got this. So yes, she's done a video, so we'll look at the video. I'm not going back to the Blanchards, and using the Balls account as credible isn't a good look. Balls supports literal cult leaders like Robert Shin. I've never seen Miss Balls do that, but anyway, it says Balls, I think, it says Balls, I think, called whatever. Did you see this? Yes, I gave Katie permission to use my stuff with credit. A lot of people don't like her or trust her. She's one to avoid. That's a page that follows her and posts about her. And then that's all. Thing is, she's covered whatever this stuff in purple is. That's what I really want to know. She's one before when Kate Murray and the other MVP survivor was speaking out about Gypsy. WOACB said she was done with Gypsy and went right back to being friends with her and used the information she gained against Kate. Conspiracy. Listen, I have said nice things about you publicly, and I'm not going to trash you ever. But please don't reach out to people that have provided me with information to try and turn them against me. That's super dirty and underhanded. Your content stands on its own. You don't need to interfere. Little Miss Lithium trusts me because we've been through the same experience and can compare notes. We know things about this family that most don't. Keep up the good work. But please be respectful. We are never on the same side. We are all on the same side. I'm never going back to the Blanchards. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. I'm never going back to the Blanchards. I never bullied Kate, and I wasn't involved in any of that Kate and Gypsy drama. I think they are besties now. I'm sure Gypsy is lying to Kate about me. Gypsy is a liar, period. Oh, dear. So, Hello, Gigi. Consider yourself a one. Yes. Peter, I take offence that we are still unwinding getting out of Steve's cult and into Cody's cult. But this is the person that trusts Katie. As I said, it says polyamorous and partnered. So yeah, I love my girlfriend. I just find it very interesting that Katie would team up with somebody who's polyamorous when she's so against that lifestyle. Okay? Or doesn't it matter? Trust and Katie should never be in the same. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to Katie's last video. This is called, she's called it an exclusive, by the way, because she has to have the exclusives, because apparently she's an exclusive. All right. We've lost the audio, so let me just stop this. Your browser has lost connection to the audio. Okay. She needs to go back to prison. I just watched Gypsy's next interrogations. I was in prison with her since 2007. I do prison reform daily, and she's never reached out to me or tried to help anyone inside. I would not take her to meet a legislator due to how she has made people look. Those in prison for unaliving someone truly have remorse and would do anything to change it. People who are reformed do everything they can to give back and not take and take. Now, I did believe that Louisiana doesn't have the son of Sam law. Let's have a look. Now, it gets a bit, because didn't she serve, didn't she serve, oh, wait on. Right. Hello, Mama Celeste. So it would depend on whether she would have to, whether it's Missouri where she served her time or whether it's Louisiana. But I think, or from what people are telling me, is that it doesn't have a son of Sam law, Louisiana. But I don't know how that works. That's out of my pay scale, my pay grade. I'm going to speed this up because we have to speed this up. And I'll put subtitles on for those that need subtitles. Good luck. All right, let's have a look at this.
And now we know her as almost a completely different person.
Erin, as you remember.
I would be curious if anybody Gypsy has talked to who feels they're getting the full story.
This is actually kind of the first time I've been honest, besides being honest, my attorney.
Regardless of remorse or not, Gypsy's mum used her for a personal gain. I don't like Gypsy Rose, but I believe she should have got life, but did her time. No SummerSlam law, but cleared by Katie laws. Maybe, in fact. Look, she did her time. Whether she still should be there or not, I guess is the question. But well, actually, Dom, did she use her for her own personal gain, or did she use Gypsy to give Gypsy an unbelievable life? Because from my understanding of Dee Dee, she never spent the money on herself. It always went to Gypsy. So did she in fact bring Gypsy up to be a spoilt brat, teaching Gypsy how to scam people for money, which obviously is working because that's what we're seeing now. because I would have thought if it was for Dee Dee's gain, Dee Dee would have been the one that would benefit from it. But from what I have seen and from what I've read, Gypsy was the beneficiary. Sure, she used Gypsy, but Gypsy was the beneficiary of all the grifting. I don't know. I'm just putting it out. I've just posed that question to you. Gypsy is and will always be a mess. Well, she'll always be a mess until she is able to get some help, because what we're seeing is somebody's trauma playing out. The fact that she got married in prison because she didn't want to live with her dad and stepmother. She married a guy, come out of prison, the stepmom interferes, she runs off, has an affair with her ex-boyfriend, files paperwork to divorce her husband, moved back in with her step-parents, and now pregnant with the guy. This is only within 3 months. That's not the behaviour of somebody that has it all together. Well, as I said, Doom, as I've been just looking and wondering about it, that's what I was thinking. So really, I agree, Gypsy did not much outside chance, but it appears she's been out. She has not been guided right, apart from KJ trying to dictate. But when you think about it, she's got KJ trying to dictate her life. She's got her stepmother trying to dictate her life. Everybody's telling her what not to do. No one's actually telling her what to do. There's a difference. Because we all know if you tell someone not to do something, they're going to go do it. The fact that they told her not to get pregnant and she got pregnant, that was always going to happen, because I said, don't do it.
Even that, I haven't been completely honest with them. My life, yes. She taught me how to be a good liar, a very good liar, without any conscience.
Yes, hello, Harrison. He always says, how does everyone know it's me? And I go, because you're the only one that rings.
And I'm changing that. I'm trying to be a good person now. I don't want to be like my mother, and I'm nothing like her.
But is she?
It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. And when I tell you that I have some piping hot behind the bars tea, this is like the energy drink that Gypsy makes, but then adds some espresso and a shot of tequila. Because what I'm going to tell you today is wild. And I wasn't even thinking I would even have this to tell you, because frankly, it's not even my story to tell. It comes from someone else who happened to have a bit of a falling out with Gypsy, let's say last week around the same time. I don't know, maybe I asked about what was going on in her life and why she might be going back to the clinker. And now everything is coming together. It's interesting.
So somebody else is spilling tea. Okay.
Because Gypsy said I was being nosy. She has told this person I was being nosy. And if you're not familiar with what's going on, we're going to get into it. So Gypsy Rose Blanchard served 8.5 years. She was paroled after serving 8.5 years. She's still on parole, and she has a lot of stipulations. I know she likes to say that she only has a couple, but she has many. It's not just that she can't talk to Nick and that she can't talk to these people. She also has to be in therapy. She can't be around individuals using any certain substances. She can't drink. She can't use substances. She can't commit any other acts against people. It's not just as simple as she has to go to therapy and she can't, talk to Nick. There's more.
Espresso martinis do not have tequila, it's vodka. Harrison, I told you that you had to tell me what you wanted to talk about. And I don't know, it wasn't an answer. I told you that. I know, Mama Celeste, how convenient.
To it. And Gypsy has had a hard time keeping still. She's had a hard time keeping her mouth shut, and she's been getting into fights all over her social media. It's gotten so bad for Gypsy, and she has damaged what was a questionable fame that she had. It's gotten to the point that now she has a PR team in crisis mode trying to clean up everything and make her into a celebrity, because Gypsy believes she's a celebrity. This isn't just my opinion. This is things she tells other people as well. And because of that, she doesn't think that she should be identified with what she did to her mother. Y'all know by now that the photos from what happened that night to her mother have gone viral. They're all over the internet. And so everyone is starting to reevaluate what their thoughts were about Gypsy, because a lot of people think she kind of minimized what happened. And I can't blame them on that. But as I've been unraveling this, other people have been reaching out to me that have also had similar issues and have also begun to realize that they too are lied to. And I know you all will say, Katie, how could you be so naive? Here's the thing. I got to know Christy Blanchard in 2019 when basically no one was even giving two, like, they didn't care at all about Gypsy at that point. I don't even think the act was out yet when I met her. The only thing that existed were some interviews on 2020 and the Mommy Dead and Dearest. It wasn't like Gypsy had this huge fame platform. The act did.
So, well, if you get angry, Harrison, I've got some mods that have some buttons. Anyway, it's funny how she said she knew Gypsy, she knew Christy before she got famous, but she had those docos, didn't she?
Change that, and I witnessed that in real time, is what happened to the family and the attention they got. And I also witnessed how angry they became about it because they didn't make any money off of it, and they didn't like that certain aspects of the story weren't favorable to Gypsy, even though it was fictionalized. I don't necessarily think those components of it were necessarily false, now that I think about all of this. So in January, I found out from Christy Blanchard, after years of them insisting that there was nothing wrong with Gypsy, that she actually has what's called microdeletion. And this microdeletion, IQ 21.1, is a rare disorder that has been one of the contributing factors to health-related issues that Gypsy had as a child, including issues with her palate, issues with her teeth.
I've put him in timeout. I think I put him in timeout. Did I put him in timeout? Can one of my mods check if I put him in timeout or if I did something worse? Watch, my phone will blow up in a minute. Oh no, my phone's gonna blow up in a minute. Can you just make sure that I haven't actually like banned him completely, that he's just in timeout? I'm gonna be in trouble. Oh no. Well, that's all right. It's nearly his bedtime by then. He'll be right.
Issues with her vision, issues with her feeding, her vomiting, and her low muscle tone. Now, Dee Dee definitely took some of those things and ran with them, but once that came out, they were very, very worried about it becoming.
Hang on. Hello, Harrison.
Hello?
Yeah, what?
Why did you call me out?
Because you kept asking the question and you were timed out by 2 mods and me.
2 mods?
Yeah.
Who?
Oh, I'm not telling you. It's a secret.
Hey, can you please let me on?
I can't. You're banned. You're blocked. I can't let you on for 10. You can't get on for 10 minutes now.
Yeah, well, what? So I can't even get on the video?
No.
That's a bit dumb, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Why did you tell me your favourite nephew was?
What? Why did I tell my favourite nephew? Because he was annoying me and he couldn't read the room. Anyway, everyone's listening to this conversation. They're enjoying themselves.
Yeah, no, I'm reading the chat.
Are you? Harrison says hello. Tell Anna Harrison you're demonetized so he gets no money for it. That's true. There's no money.
Please let me on.
They can all hear you because you're on loudspeaker, mate.
Can you unplug me out?
I can't untime you out.
Why?
Because you have to let YouTube do its thing.
I don't know why you told me out in the first place.
Well, I just didn't do it. Someone else did as well.
Who?
I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret.
Tell me.
I'm not telling you. Anyway, I got to go. I've got people to talk to.
Can you let me off?
No, I told you no. Bye.
I want to get off.
Bye. Well, you tell me what you want to talk about.
Things.
No, all right, I got to go. Bye.
Public, because at that point, they weren't really aware of it. They were shocked to find it. They were told by Dee Dee she had a chromosome disorder, but I don't think they ever really looked hard at the medical records. And that's what I noticed when I started watching series, is that they would pull one document out of dozens. And mind you, none of these people are doctors talking about them and claiming this is why we can prove Dee Dee was this way. Now, it's not to say that Dee Dee wasn't a good mom. I don't think it's a good mom forces a child to be in a wheelchair or pretend they can't walk. I don't think a good mom would not allow their daughter to move out. I don't think a good mom would be as controlling as Dee Dee. But I also don't think it's.
Hang on. Wait on, wait on, wait on, wait on, wait on, wait on, wait on.
chair or pretend they can't walk. I don't think a good mom would not allow their daughter to move out. I don't think a good mom would be as controlling as Dee Dee. But I also don't think it's fair that we villainize her as much.
Who's she talking about here? Who's she talking about here? I mean, she could be talking about herself, couldn't she? And about her family. Couldn't she? Let me just play that back again.
Why Dee Dee was, we can prove Dee Dee was this way. Now, it's not to say that Dee Dee wasn't a good mom. I don't think it's a good mom forces a child to be in a wheelchair or pretend they can't walk. I don't think a good mom would not allow their daughter to move out. I don't think a good mom would be as controlling as Dee Dee. But I also don't think it's fair that we villainize her as much because she's not here to tell her side of the story. And the only person that's speaking is the one that contributed to her life ending. So interestingly, Gypsy was on the Kardashians, and the Kardashian episode, she was supposedly supposed to be talking about prison reform. Now, when the preview went live, I got really upset because I was like, here we go again. Gypsy is after meeting celebrities because if you know anything about her case, her mom was obsessed with fame and she believed she was a girlfriend to some singer in a band. And
Hello, short order. Yeah, look, it's funny because when they said they demonetized my channel, it says that I would still get in the algorithm, but I don't. I would believe that I'm yet to be convinced. I would not surprise me if I'm shadow banned and people can't find me. That wouldn't surprise me at the moment.
she always wanted to be a celebrity. She wanted to be around celebrities. And so she found ways to meet celebrities with her daughter, Gypsy. Gypsy actually got to meet Miranda Lambert, and Miranda actually wrote personal checks to her to help them with her quote unquote medical procedures and cost of living because Dee Dee didn't work. So she's had a lot of exposure to celebrities. And so when I saw her doing this, I was like, this is ridiculous. On top of that, Gypsy did tell me she thought that Taylor Swift wrote a song about her. And I told
Gypsy. Who else said that? Who else thought somebody wrote a song about her? Seriously, they are sort of like living the same life. Isn't it? It's like they are living the exact same life. It's like the same person.
her that's false. I'm like, there's no way that song's about you, Gypsy. And she's like, well, maybe it's not, but wouldn't it be cool if it was? She really said that to me. So Gypsy has made a lot of friends and enemies over the years because of her crime. And it's a very divided place where some people believe everything she says. And those of us that are coming out of the fog realize that we've been like misled. And honestly, I will never discount what she did to Dee Dee. And I was always very aware of the crime scene photos. I always knew how many times she was stabbed. I knew about what happened.
She knew everything, but she discounted everything because she wanted to be her friend. I don't understand how you can know all of this stuff and then turn around and still defend her. How can you do that? Tell me that.
Happened with the neck. I knew all of this, but the framing of it, the narrative was, well, she had to do it. There was no other option. Okay. And then I came to realize there were a million other options. And if you hear something so many times, and that's the story being told by all these different outlets and everyone's telling the same story, why are we to question anything? Right. So anyways, one of Gypsy's friends in prison was a woman named Amelia Byrd, who was part of the high-profile case in Missouri when she was 16 years old. According to reports, she convinced her boyfriend to allegedly unalive her parents. Her mom was unalived, her dad was injured. And Amelia is looking for a new trial or a new look, or she wants...
I went directly and comment, and you popped right up in my feed as my... Oh, that's good, Mama Celeste. That's nice. Deshia says KJ sounds like a jilted wife testifying. She does, doesn't she? She really does. That's really quite sad, isn't it? But she does sound like that. Anyway, tomorrow I make my video. I do my video for YouTube. To ask them to fix up my channel, so to give me back my money. Give me back my money. I don't know that that's going to work. But anyway, we'll see.
Clemency, she wants out because she was also reported to be abused as a child as well. And she has been in prison for 18 years, was sentenced to 2 life sentences. And she also has the same charge as Gypsy, 2nd degree unaliving. Gypsy got 10 years and Amelia got 2 life sentences. Gypsy spoke about Amelia in her book, and she talked about how important.
That's what I don't understand, how one can get, hello Laura, how one can get 10 years and another one gets 2 life sentences. That doesn't sound like justice to me. Or is one just very good at playing the game? I think Gypsy knows how. I think Gypsy's mum taught her how to play the game.
Amelia was to her, and that Amelia was like her best friend. In Released, she wrote, Amelia and I initially bonded because of her background is similar to mine. Her boyfriend also unalived her mother. We are similar age, and we're 2 girls that unalived their mothers. We both found Mother's Day a particularly difficult time of year. One year, Amelia was more depressed than usual, seeing commercials everywhere reminding us that Mother's Day was just around the corner. So when Mother's Day rolled around, I decided to bake her a prison cake, and I presented it to her with a writing on top saying, Happy Mommy Issues Day. Amelia was my +1 at my graduation. It felt so amazing to have her true friend there for such a happy occasion. I learned that friendship isn't about just leaning on people when you're down, but having someone equally as happy for you as you are for yourself, maybe even more so. Gypsy has really no frame of reference and doesn't know how to make friends and really is devoid of like a lot of social skills. Some say that she has antisocial personality disorder, though she's never been diagnosed. So I don't know. So she spoke about Amelia and this friendship. And then when she came out, she did a post on her TikTok about Amelia's case and why Amelia deserved her freedom. She also spoke about Amelia in some interviews, and then she put the post on her TikTok and then she took it down. So that's the place we get to with the story. So the person I spoke to is Prison Girlfriends. She's not on the she's on the outside. She's not a felon. On social media, she goes by Little Miss Lithium, and her name is Zora. So Zora.
That's where Little Miss Lithium comes from. That's why she's that's why she's talking to a polyamorous woman, because it's a source. Now it's all becoming clear. It's all becoming clear now, isn't it? I feel bad I upset Harrison, but he'll get over it. I don't like doing stuff like that, but anyway.
Zora and Amelia are girlfriends, and Zora has been trying to help Millie get her story out on social media. So Little Miss Lithium Zora came to me and said, listen, I just had a falling out with Gypsy, and I heard that you did too, and she wanted to compare some notes. And shockingly, our notes were very similar, but something she told me shocked me. So Kim Kardashian, remember that? She appeared on the show. Well, Gypsy had made promises apparently to Amelia to help Amelia through her platform to bring Amelia's story out more publicly. Amelia was looking for a level of exposure to her story to hopefully get people to relook at her case and maybe look at reducing her sentence, changing her sentence, commuting her sentence, something. And Gypsy had made promises to Amelia to help her. So when the show was announced for the Kardashians, Gypsy told me that the only reason she would agree to meet with Kim wasn't because she was trying to like chum up with her on Twitter and send her tweets and tell her she wanted to meet her. That's not why. She told me she wanted to meet with Kim because she wanted to speak about Amelia's case and help get exposure to Amelia's case. And she felt like the Kardashian show would be a great place to get Amelia exposure. Well, come to find out that what aired was all of Gypsy talking about haters online and how she's struggling with adjusting to all of the hate online and looking for advice from Kim on how to handle hate online and people spreading lies about her. And there was nothing whatsoever about Amelia. Now, it's hard to say if she actually spoke to Kim about Amelia and it was just left on the cutting room floor, because ultimately, if they spoke for an hour and they only show 5 minutes, we'll never know. But Gypsy had told me and told Amelia and Zora that Amelia's case would be featured on the Kardashians episode. So when the episode aired and I found out and I saw that Amelia's case wasn't interested, I asked Gypsy and I said, oh, that's weird. I just saw in the episode that there was no mention of Amelia. And she's like, she told me she was disappointed. She was really sad. She was going to have to tell Amelia's friend about what happened. And she was sad because she didn't want to tell Amelia that. So generally speaking, if someone were to say, be telling the truth.
I knew she had an outside source on the inside, on the outside. It's beyond KJ, go fish these people up. For KJ to say everyone is contacting her, I'm not buying that. Yeah. Right. So now we know why, because as I said, she's against polygamy, but this Zora says she's polyamorous. We saw that here. This is who she said. This is who polyamorous and partnered, and freedom for Amelia. Now, at the end of the day, Amelia again did the crime, was involved in the crime. Is guilty. Does she deserve 2 life sentences? I don't know. But considering that Gypsy got out after 10, you could argue that she does. She could get out earlier, which is. But the other thing is that I think the other difference wasn't. I think Amelia was 16 when she committed her crime. Gypsy wasn't a child, wasn't a minor either. So there are a couple of differences in their cases, I believe. So that's my understanding. I could be wrong. That's just what I'm picking up by the little bits and pieces that I'm seeing. But yes, so this is, as I said, polyamorous. So I couldn't work out, unless she was Katie's source, why she would be dealing with somebody that lives a life that she's so out against. Look at what she did to the Browns. But because this woman's got something that she wants, information, she's prepared to just let it go by.
And they knew they'd done their best and it was outside of their control of what was showed, they would relay that message and they wouldn't block people or not talk to them about what happened. If they lied and misrepresented why they met with Kim and that's why it wasn't on the show, they may try to block them and not deal with them. And we know Gypsy lies. And so when she was confronted, this is what she said. And these were sent to me by Zora. I'm only thinking of my baby. Millie is in prison. I can't right now. She said she scribbled out this stuff because it was personal and I'm not going to go against her and ask what it says. But I said she wrote for a month, but you wouldn't know because you don't check in, because you're inconsiderate. You blocked me because you don't want to be held accountable for lying to Millie. And she said, I didn't lie to her. I did my best and I did it with grace. It's not my fault the system failed her. I did my part as a friend. You didn't even mention her. You didn't have to lie and say you would. No one expects you to think of anyone but yourself. And then she said, I mentioned her on the show and they didn't air it. I mentioned her to Kim and they didn't air it. And she wrote, the system has nothing to do with you, but your failure to keep true to your promises to your friends has everything to do with you. If you are considering your child, you wouldn't be using the baby for profit and attention for the media. And she said, how am I doing that? And she said, with your sonograms, that wouldn't be on TV. And she said, I'm not. And she said, girl. And she said, I'm just sharing my happiness. And she said, she's like, and you're begging people to buy things for your baby when you're a literal millionaire. And she said, girl, I'm not a millionaire. We used to talk about that. And she said, consider the following. While you, a literal millionaire, begged people to buy things for your child, my boyfriend's family can't even come up with the money to put him in the ground. And you've had all this money and support you've needed since prison. And she said, yet you get mad when people don't give you more. She said, that's not true. I'm leaving this conversation. I wish you the best. And she said, right, because you don't want to be held accountable. I wish you the literal worst. You're terrible. I honestly don't think she spoke to her about Amelia. I don't. And I think that if this message exchange between the two of them happened after a month of Gypsy avoiding her and not responding to her and not letting her know what to tell Amelia or what information to give Amelia about why it didn't air. And again, this is a woman that wrote in her book about how much she cares about Amelia. And now she says so flippantly, I'm sorry, the system failed her. I can't help her. And then because of all of this going on, because she's having these disagreements with Millie's girlfriend, she posted a photo yesterday with her and Kim, thanking Kim for meeting with her about prison reform. So she's trying.
The thing is, prison reform could be reformed and means that people could be having to serve longer sentences too. Well, that's the other thing. I don't know. There's so many text messages allegedly going backwards and forth from people. I've got no idea what's true and what's not.
trying to get ahead of this narrative because she knows that this is going to come out. So this is where it gets really bad. And this is where she is busted because she has conditions of her parole. And one of those stipulations is she cannot have any contact with any of the inmates that she was friends with. She cannot have contact with any felons. She cannot have contact with anyone that she was in prison with. She is supposed to just, not talk to felons, not talk to the prisoners, not contact them. And she hasn't kept those agreements. And so remember how I told you last week that Christy told me that they were actually worried that Gypsy was going to go back to prison? Well, it's true that Gypsy was going to go back to prison. Well, it's true. But it wasn't because Gypsy left a comment at all on somebody's TikTok. It had nothing to do with that. It was because Gypsy was actually defying her parole and she was using her husband, Ryan's phone to bypass and take calls from Amelia and another one of her friends, Lori, and I think a girl named Lucky. And so
Wow. I mean, again, if it's true. I don't know what's true and what's not anymore, to be honest with you. I don't know. Although I'm here for it. I've got nothing else. I've got no other excitement in my life. I'm here for it. Oh, dear. They just fake texts in the past. Well, that's right. I mean, as you say, we just don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
July 23rd, she sent this text message to Zora. Let Millie know I can't take prison calls anymore. I got a citation by my PO for it. It's a warning. And next one, they send me back. And then she said, what happened with Katie Paulson? And she said, I cut ties with her for being way too nosy and not a genuine friend. And she said, which she said she didn't believe is why she said, So she says, I can't talk to Millie anymore. And this is after a month of ignoring them because she got in trouble. Someone reported her to the PO for taking phone calls. And frankly, it could have not even been someone. Phone calls from jail are recorded. And anyone could have listened to Amelia's phone calls, Lori's or Lucky's or whoever she was talking to. And if they heard Gypsy's voice on the phone, they would know she was talking to Gypsy. So in May, everything was getting into the prison and everyone found out about Gypsy getting pregnant. But Gypsy was telling people from at prison that she was pregnant. She was contacting her friends in prison. So Zora reached out to her and said, hey, someone in six house is telling everyone you're pregnant. She thinks it might be Lucky if you told her. I think I told Lucky I was when I was late in April, but then I got my period and then now I'm really pregnant. And she said, girl, she's telling these folks your business. I'm so sorry. That pisses me off. You're not in there anymore. And these people don't deserve to know about you unless you want them to. And she said, it's okay. It's going to get around in prison. LOL. So Gypsy was speaking to Lucky. I don't know who Lucky is. That's her prison name. Maybe that's just her name, but she was directly speaking to Lucky. She was speaking to Lori and she was speaking to Millie. Christy told me she left a single comment on Tuesday Sparks.
Well, it takes his two cell phones texting back and forth in a screenshot. Yeah. Look, I people are so diligent taking these screenshots. I tell you what, I don't even think about it half the time when I'm talking to people. I mean, I can go back and get them after the event, but I don't think about taking screenshots at a certain time. To be fair, I've got better things to do.
Instagram, TikTok, and said, thank you for making this video about me. And she said that was literally why she was going to get revoked. And I was like, that's severe, but this makes a hell of a lot more sense. According to Zora, she called and took phone calls from Amelia at least 3 or 4 times. They were exchanging emails. She was taking calls from Lucky, and she's pretty sure she was also speaking to Lori, and she was emailing them too. So she will not abide by her parole her parole guidelines. She will not abide by them. And so what her parole officer said is, we're not going to violate you this time, but the next report we get, no matter what it is, you're going back to prison. So Gypsy deleted literally everything on her TikTok, and then she put it back up when the crime scene photos came out, and everyone was like, oh, this is why. I would venture that she is panicking right now because one, she doesn't want this to get out. She doesn't want anyone to know she got a citation. I know she's mentioned it on her TikTok live.
Use KJ's plan. She can't stand up to. She's using vulnerable and making out she's a friend in confidence. Coercion. Of course, it's yeah. It was interesting. I was watching a little bit of Sir Morbid's channel today, and he had Gypsy's live on, and she was doing everything that was in that PR plan. She was doing a get ready with me and talking about baby names and everything. I haven't seen anyone that's recorded it or put it up yet.
But she's never said what for. But let me be clear. It's really not common if you're a reformed prisoner to come out and willfully deny the rules and defy them. It's really not normal for a reformed prisoner that's been through the system, that knows right from wrong, to go bypass rules and not abide by the law to speak to people that you're not supposed to speak to. Now, I understand these are her friends, but
really? There's lots of people that once they're out, they don't like it out and they do everything they can to get back in. They like the warm bed. And oh, Renel's put it up. Okay, I'll have to see whether Renel's put it up. It's on at a really weird time, so I'm always missing the lives actually. So I wish there was something like Instagram thing where you can set it up to record every time somebody goes live. That's how I get Katie's Instagrams. Every time she goes live on Instagram, it automatically records. I wish there was something like that. If there is, please tell me.
But she can't speak to them, and she's not abiding by her parole conditions. If this were any other prisoner, she would be back in prison. But because it's Gypsy Rose Blanchard, she's just getting a warning. So this specific friend had a lot more to share. And there's a lot more details about what's happening with Ken and Gypsy and all of that. They basically told me what I already knew, was that Ken and Gypsy are having issues, that Ken and Gypsy, infidelity is being accused by both of them on both sides. Zora said that Gypsy is convinced that Ken is already cheating on her, and she's super paranoid about it. She also knows that Gypsy's running back to Ryan constantly to get back at Ken. And Ken is basically only back for the fame and for the money. He's not there because he actually loves Gypsy. He's really just chasing the dollar.
That didn't take a genius to know that. Come on. Of course he was just going for the money and the fame. Of course he was. I mean, that didn't take an Einstein to work that out. Does she think that we're a bit dumb?
Which is evident by the fact that he quit his job and now Gypsy's paying for his bills. So I'll be sharing more information, but really what I think the pain for Amelia and for Zora is, yes, they weren't supposed to talk to her. Yes, they were helping her break the rules. And I don't agree with that. But she claims that...
That's true, Bo. Unlike my lives at 3 a.m. Oh, yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's not really exclusive, is it?
that Amelia is like her best friend. And instead of like making good on a promise and living up to that promise, she's like taking steps to bypass, to lie to her, and to cut her off by saying, well, I did what I tried. I did what I could. It's not my fault she's in there. I mean, that's so cold. And this is a girl that apparently has spent 18 years behind prison. She trains service dogs. She's super involved. She has reformed, whereas Gypsy has not. And Zora was saying that there's elements of Gypsy's story that she has put out publicly in the last several months, specifically about her grandfather, that they suspect Gypsy actually stole from Amelia's story, which is weird, right? But that's what Gypsy does. She takes pieces of information from other people and takes those stories on as her own. And
someone else does that too. Who else do we know takes on someone else's story as their own? I wonder. As I said, I just thought when I saw that she, this person that she was, her new source, as I said, was polyamorous. I thought, oh, that's very weird that she's befriending somebody when she would call it out. And her unnamed sources are just another one of her multiple personalities. Yes, Lulu says, didn't Todd say something about KJ laying golden eggs? Who's sticking around for money?
And because according to them, she had never, ever brought up anything to do with what her grandfather did until Amelia started opening up to her about what she experienced. And then Gypsy went public and said that's what happened to her. So when you have people like, and these are all prison stories, obviously, so take it for what it's worth. But when you're hearing her tell stories, just think about it. Is this real? Is this true? Go back and watch interviews, see if she's contradicted herself, because she always does. And ask yourself, is this someone that's reformed? I don't think so. And Gypsy is going to end up back in prison. There is no question in my mind, because she doesn't care about the rules and she does not think the rules apply to her. And the more and more she does and uses people and discards them and treats them poorly, the more trouble she's going to find herself in. And she's basically proving that she's absolutely just like her mother.
Hang on a minute. Is she talking about herself here? You could just interchange. KJ and Gypsy and you've got the same thing. It's bizarre. And how many changes a story have we heard from Katie?
That she's out for fame, that she's going to monetize her life, that she's going to put the baby out for the TV. Oh, and that was the other thing that Zora said, was that Gypsy had the baby so that she can have a storyline for the show. That was her opinion, because it would almost guarantee her another season if she had a baby. But Gypsy also is well aware that she has this micro deletion, that there's more than a 50% chance that she will pass this deletion on to her child, and that some children that have this can be profoundly affected. They can have impact, they can be impacted with their mental capacities, cognitive disabilities, they can be very ill. And so she's just going to repeat the same pattern that her mom did. And she's already starting. She can get as many PR companies as she wants. She can steal stories. She can pretend she's doing prison reform, but she's really not. She's just doing all of this for appearances, because at the end of the day, someone that stood behind her and was there for her when no one else was, Amelia, for years, she won't even give her any respect and apologize for lying to her, because we are confident she lied to her. I'm confident. I think she came up with the lie because she knew everyone would look at her as clout chasing by speaking to Kim. She 100% believed that it would look really bad if she was chasing fame and chasing celebrities. And so she had to make it look like she was being benevolent. But I'm pretty confident that the production aired what was true to what happened. And what you saw was someone that was very self-absorbed and just obsessed with criticism that they were getting online, and lying that they weren't given access to therapy in prison. There was so many offers by professionals to help her. Christy even told me in 2019, they had people set up to come into prison to give her therapy. Gypsy declined all offers for therapy. So there's that. Gypsy could have reformed, but she did the bare minimum to reform, and she'll end up back in prison. So if you want to follow more and learn more about Amelia's story, Lil Miss Lithium, she's on TikTok and on Instagram. You can follow her. She does videos and she speaks about her. She also posts about her on her Facebook, and she's trying to help her following get elevated to help Amelia's story get out there. I don't know enough about Amelia's story to speak intelligently about it. I just know that Amelia is probably very devastated because Gypsy just does what Gypsy does. She chews people up and spits them out. And finally, Gypsy Blanchard was angry that people told her to take down her gift registry, because why? I was told directly from Christy, because Gypsy said, well, I have celebrity friends, and my celebrity friends might want to spend that kind of money on presents for me. And that sums up everything you should know about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. All right, everyone, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe.
Right, so there you go. And she did one, she's been doing one every couple of days. Here's another one. She is jealous. I mean, that's why she went on TikTok, right? So Renel's got the video. I'm going to have to try and find the video from Renel. I was going to say, they're not just going to throw her back into jail. They've got to, that she'll have to go and face the court. It's the court that will do it. And all she's got to do is say that there's haters out there trying to make her life difficult, and that could be plausible for the judge to tell her, well, you don't need to go back in. You've got to be very careful.
I consider myself an author. I have put out one book, which is called Released, Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. And I co-wrote that with Melissa Moore and Michelle Matrashani, and we are currently working on my memoir. So currently I am working as an author. Was it difficult to get a publisher? Yeah, kind of. We had pitched my book to a couple of different publishing companies, and only a handful responded, because they were honestly kind of worried about the Son of Sam law. Now, my current publisher, Bindella, was gracious enough and brave enough to take on my story, with keeping in mind the Son of Sam laws. And of course, they have legal departments and everything to make sure that
he got life, Laura. I believe he got life, I think, without parole, which I think is a bit harsh. I think that's harsh because Gypsy testified. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Somebody does actually know the actual story, please correct me. But I believe that he got life. Now, I think there is an interview of him, and he talks about how he felt he now realizes she manipulated him, but that's not going to help him now.
is all squared away.
Hello, Hello friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday, July 26th, 2024. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. This week, we've been going into some of the topics regarding Gypsy Rose Blanchard and everything that I've learned over the last 5 years with my connections to the
Thought he only remembered striking her a few times and not the amount of wounds. So did he black out or was she there doing? Well, apparently there was 17 wounds on DD and he only says he knows of 4. Nick got life without parole, which I think is a bit harsh, in my opinion. Because I think the narrative that Gypsy's portrayed is that he manipulated her. But we all know that that's not the case. But at the end of the day, it's what the court believes, unfortunately. I mean, it's my opinion that he had dud lawyers as well. I think, if he had decent lawyers, they could have helped him.
family. And one topic I wanted to discuss was my biggest issue with all of it, the profiting off of what Gypsy did, profiting off of her notoriety, cashing in and becoming famous and making a lot of money, despite the fact that what she did under all circumstances is one of the most abhorrent types of crimes anyone could ever commit. When society platforms individuals that do bad things, it's an unfortunate consequence, and other criminals have been given a lot of notoriety and other criminals have not had the opportunity to profit as much as Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Gypsy Rose Blanchard grew up with a mother who was very skilled at defrauding people, conning people. She was a shoplifter. She was known to rip people off, write bad checks. She also defrauded organizations like Habitat for Humanity, Make-A-Wish, other wish organizations, and really all of these different organizations within the community that helps children with special needs and life-threatening.
Yeah, I think she was able to turn it so that she could save herself. That's why Katie was saying that he was evil, because she believed Gypsy's story that Gypsy was the victim and that Nick was the evil person. But I've seen the same shows as what she has said, but I had the whole different outlook. I actually felt sorry for Nick at the end of the day. So
conditions. Gypsy was born with a rare chromosomal microdeletion, but that microdeletion was not life-threatening. And in order for Gypsy and her mom to get benefits, her mom needed to come up with a scam, and she needed to come up with an illness that would get Gypsy all kinds of freebies. So what did she settle on? She settled on muscular dystrophy and leukemia. And despite the fact that Gypsy never was seen for cancer ever, she had no oncologist, she never received chemo, somehow she qualified for all of these different wishes. In fact, she told me she had 3 wishes. Dee was able to defraud a lot of people and get a lot of free gifts. And a lot of it was to benefit her daughter, Gypsy. Gypsy got a lot of free gifts. Now, when Gypsy and her co-defendant, Nicholas Godejohn, were arrested, police were also investigating Gypsy for fraud because they had uncovered an elaborate fraud scheme that involved both Gypsy and her mother. When Gypsy took a plea deal and it was uncovered about what her mother had done in terms of the doctor shopping and the alleged medical abuse, at that point, Gypsy was never charged with any of the fraud. But Gypsy has admitted that she has picked up bad habits from her mom.
So that's interesting. I mean, should they have just put their fraud in the plea deal as well and given her an extra time? Maybe they could still had a grifting story blown up and how her mum stole money if the word same sentences can DD and KJ alike. How many do we have to hear this intro from her childhood history, her mum, her health problems, on and on and on, rinse, repeat, nothing new. It is possible that the Munchausen by proxy is what gave her the lifeline and gave her the way out. I do believe that they both should have got the same. I do believe they both should have got the same sentence, or she should have got harsher than him, in my opinion.
In fact, criminal behavior is what she's referred to it. She lived a very criminal lifestyle. She has admitted to shoplifting and to being very skilled at lying and manipulating because of how her mother was. Her mother was a very skilled con artist.
You know, I lived with her for 24 years of my life, and she did things in her life. She shoplifted. There was fraud. Like, there was a lot of things, criminal activity that she was doing that I grew up in. I watched her do all these things. So for me, it is a conscious effort to, you know, go back in my mind and realize that is the wrong thing to do. This is the right way to do things. I'm the product of someone that was very deceitful. How do I prevent myself from falling prey to being like her? I don't think I'm like my mother at all. I try actively not.
She's been
I think his sentence is over. Yes, his autism Asperger's should be taken into consideration. I think so. And when you hear him talk, I think somebody said that there's a channel, there's a YouTube channel under his name that has an interview that he did on it. And when you hear him talk, there's no way this guy could be a mastermind of anything, in my opinion. See if I can find it. All right. But I do believe he has diminished. I mean, from what I've seen, he's got diminished capacity, in my opinion. The poor abused girl story, yes. As I said, she benefited from it. While she wasn't necessarily sick, she lived an amazing life. She had more privileges and got more stuff than lots of other people her age, and you know, and had opportunities that no one else got to have. And she was probably spoiled.
Been very open about the fact that her mom was a shoplifter. She's also been very open about the fact that she was a shoplifter, that she shoplifted with her mother, that she committed crimes with her mother. In fact, in her book, Released, she wrote, "Sitting in a wheelchair helps to more easily knock items into your lap and shove them under the princess dress. And for items that couldn't be sat on or hidden underneath my beanie cap, my mother taught me to barcode swap. Remove the barcode sticker from a cheaper item and place it on the more expensive one. Then use the self-checkout lane. I'd be able to fit 14 or 15 CDs on me at Sam's Club since the store didn't have metal detectors. We'd steal random stuff at Hobby Lobby, screwing Hobby Lobby for the crap that she'd bring home just to hoard. She had a whole extra bedroom of stuff. Our bedroom had so much piled in it, I needed to carve a pathway for myself from the door to the bed. So yes, secrets and lies was my normal. Each secret and lie represented a huge facet of my life. My Habitat for Humanity house was a scam. The food she blended for my feeding tube, a ruse. The Make-A-Wish trips were fraudulent." So she was taught to lie, taught to scam, shoplift. And she has only recently started therapy. It's interesting. I was just watching this video that I just played there of Nick Vial and Gypsy, and she said that she was in therapy and she would talk to her therapist about it. When she did that interview, she didn't have a therapist. She wasn't in therapy yet. She might have done some therapy before she was released for the show, but she didn't have like an active therapist at that time other than for filming. She's now in therapy, but at that time she wasn't. And that's just how easily Gypsy lies. So the biggest issue for many people is how much money that Gypsy's making on her social media, on her books, on her show, and all of the profiting that is seemingly being done, despite the fact that she committed a crime. The tricky thing is that Missouri doesn't have any laws against notoriety for profit, meaning there are laws that are on the books in some states that make it illegal for a criminal that has certain convictions to not be able to cash in on the notoriety that they've received for their crime. A lot of these laws have actually been shot down by the Supreme Court. These laws were once called Son of Sam laws. Louisiana actually has a law specifically about not being able to cash in on notoriety. It's called a notoriety for profit. And it's set up so that an individual that has certain convictions can.
3 wishes to make a wish is crazy. Those wishes are for kids facing that. Someone's going to wish. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's the interesting thing. Notoriety or profit laws. Well, that's right. People don't necessarily do it. So let's have a look. We'll have a look at that law, see what it says. But again, is it Missouri that she's covered on, or is it or does it come under Louisiana where she's living? That's my question. I don't know.
Can't profit off of it, and any money that's made by the convicted person can actually be taken by victims of the crime, family members, heirs of the victim. Because her crime was committed in Missouri, it's more than likely she has to fall under Missouri law and not Louisiana law. There's wild speculation online that Gypsy has made more than $3 million, and that as a product of her book deals and her show, Life After Lockup, Gypsy raked in the cash. And I was shocked to know, because I found out this from Christy Blanchard, that Gypsy actually did make money. In fact, a pretty good chunk of it, the documentary Mommy, Dead and Dearest, which aired on HBO in 2018. Back in 2018, this
I think she is the only one that's really interested. I remember now what I was going to tell you all. It's not related to anything like this either. It's just something else. She's really butthurt, I think, that she's making money, and that she's making more money than what she is on TikTok. I think that's what the issue is. That's my opinion.
series was the one that really dove into the concept of Munchausen's by proxy and Gypsy being the victim of her mother. This series heavily focused on Gypsy's story, on Christy and Rod Blanchard's story, on her grandfather Claude was involved in the series. Some of Dee Dee's siblings were involved, but not all of them. In fact, some of Dee Dee's siblings are not supportive at all of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I learned that from that documentary, which was supposed to be a documentary, which means the principals shouldn't really have been paid to be involved in this. They might have been paid for materials, but I was shocked to learn that a trust fund with an estimated $250,000 had been set up, not in Gypsy's name, but according to Christine Blanchard, was in the name of her husband and herself. The money was supposedly earmarked for Gypsy, and the $250,000 that was made was supposedly from Mommy, Dead and Dearest and other royalties. That's a lot of money for a documentary. When I found out recently how much they made, it made me question how biased that documentary actually was.
Well, and interestingly, I find it very interesting that it's in their name. I understand New Zealand doesn't allow convicted felons, especially ones that, wow, interesting. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Oh, you used it. You got the mop system that you like to use. I actually did my daughter's apartment with that mop system. I did her walls. It was so easy. If I remembered, I would have filmed it for you to show you.
If the principals involved in the series, in the show, are actually getting paid that much money, it would appear as though that there's a narrative, one specific narrative that's being told, and that's Gypsy's, which means there may or may not be truth involved in that series. So there's a trust that was apparently not set up in Gypsy's name. Well, why was the trust not set up in Gypsy's name? Well, according to Christy, because she was in prison.
I've just posted a link. My daughter's now a published. She's just had an article published. She's been doing an internship, and she has just had she's just published her first article she's been doing lots of editing, but this time she got to publish an article. And interestingly enough, she's used the picture of herself, which again, I find to be very interesting. But she talks about, what's it called? Body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia disorder that they're finding. Oh yeah, I also did the inside of the cupboards, which were really tall. Yeah, it's great. As I said, I love it. Best thing.
She couldn't be paid for any of it. She couldn't be paid for any of the interviews. She couldn't be paid for any of the appearances on any of the documentaries that were made, any of the network shows that they filmed during that time. And so to bypass the laws where she couldn't get paid, they set up a trust, and she was paid to a trust, not in Gypsy's name, but in her parents' name. There's currently a trust fund for Gypsy, but Gypsy's name isn't on it. Weird, right? Yeah. Gypsy and Ryan apparently attempted to access that and wanted to use that money to buy a house. But according to Christy, when I spoke to her back in December, they would not allow her to access the money. They didn't want Ryan to get a hold of any of that money because the money was made before the marriage. That money is still sitting out there in a trust fund for old Gyp. So that's one way
they didn't want Ryan to get access to the money. But as I said, he was working as well. I mean, What? She didn't like Ryan, did she? And yet she didn't like Christy didn't like Ryan, but she likes Ken, the unemployed bartender.
Around some of these laws, allegedly. Now, they said that all this is legal, so I'm not accusing them of any crimes. I'm just saying that that's what they claim. That's what I was told that they made, allegedly. So back in May, I noticed that Gypsy was continuing to do a lot of media, press, and videos. I was getting overwhelmed by the number of appearances, the number of interviews she was giving. It felt like instead of actually advocating, like she said she wanted to do when she sat down with 2020 for her first interview following her release, although they claimed it was her first interview, Gypsy did a lot of interviews, but here's what she said.
Of course I feel conflicted. Fame is not what I'm looking for. I always said I think I'm infamous, and then I came out famous, but that's not what I want. I want to be an influence for change. I share my story to be a cautionary tale. The next person or they are feeling trapped, they don't take the route that I did.
Gypsy did a ton of interviews in the very first week of her release, and she kept saying over and over and over again that she was going to advocate. Her story was being shared for the purpose to be a cautionary tale. To bring awareness for Munchausen syndrome by proxy and to help other people impacted by this disorder and raise awareness for potential changes in healthcare and laws. And in the short span of 7 months, she has done none of that. She tried to advocate briefly.
Interesting, right? Who needs friends, hey? With enemies like this. Well, and that's the other thing. I don't know why, with the media platform that she Google it. No, Gypsy can kiss that drink away. You have to report and criminal convictions on your feet. Okay, nice. I don't even know whether she could come to Australia. I don't know about that either. Considering that, what convictions can stop entry to Australia? Sentenced to either death or life imprisonment, sentenced to a term of imprisonment for 12 months or 4, sentenced to 2 or more terms of imprisonment. And that, so she wouldn't be able to come to Australia either. However, considering that white settlement came about with all people of criminals, it's quite ironic. But yeah, it's just funny.
And then she stopped. And now the only thing that she's doing is sharing her story for profit. Gypsy doesn't have to advocate, but when she came out, it was very clear that everyone around her knew it was going to look very bad if she was getting out of prison and she was chasing fame. I don't believe that Gypsy ever intended to actually advocate. In fact, I know that the advocacy side of things came from the family and from people around them wanting her to do this because they knew that profiting off the crime was wrong. Whether or not it was illegal, they knew it was wrong. And so they felt like if she was an advocate, she could actually do something good with her platform and not just use it to make money. Well, all of that has been abandoned. And now all she's doing is profiting. So back in May, I made a post where I said I was getting pretty fed up with all the interviews, all the money she's making. It was very clear at that point she didn't care at all about advocacy, didn't care at all about helping anyone. She didn't care about righting her wrongs. She didn't care about restitution or giving back to the organizations that she defrauded. And I made a post on my Instagram and I said that I was just frustrated with all of it. I didn't agree with any of it. And having been close to the family and knowing them and knowing Gypsy, I couldn't endorse it anymore. I couldn't support it anymore. That same day, Gypsy reached out to me and wanted me to know that she didn't make that much money. And this idea that she was a millionaire was false. So what did Gypsy do? She sent me a series of text messages to tell me how much money she had made. And while she thinks this isn't a lot of money, to the average person, what she's pulled in since she got out of prison is pretty shocking, considering she just spent 8 years in prison for unalived.
Well, tell us. Don't just say, oh, in fact, look, there's text in there, but is she going to tell us what she made? What does she mean, the average person? Because, you know, is it more than $90,000 in the month?
Her mother. She told me in a text message, the thing I can.
Oh, Oh, wow. It was 150K. 20K I gave to my parents to pay them back for helping support me in prison. A lot of it went to taxes. The new one was another 150Ks, which a lot goes to taxes. And I have a divorce that Mariah might get half. Now, my book was 110, split between 5 people.
I can tell you how much money I've made. My documentary, The Prison Confessions, was $150,000. $20,000 I gave back to my parents to pay them back for helping support me in prison. So apparently, Christy and Rod were
Wait on.
told me in a text message. The thing I can tell you how much money I've made. My documentary, The Prison Confessions, was $150,000.
She's made
$20,000 I gave
on TikTok from her current videos. That's a lot of money. Gee, I'd feel like a... But after this, KJ sucked up to her. Correct. Oh, I'd feel like a millionaire if I was earning that. I would feel like a millionaire.
back to my parents to pay them back for helping support me in prison. So apparently Christy and Rod were helping her by sending her an allowance every month, and she paid them back for that, which is strange. I mean, if they were just being good parents, why would she need to pay them back? Maybe that's because they got paid $20,000 for their participation in the series. Next, she says a lot of it went to taxes. That's actually irrelevant. Doesn't matter if it went to taxes. That was still what you made. The new one, which was the series we just saw, that was another $150,000, which a lot of that goes to taxes. And then I have a divorce that Ryan might get half of. Now my book has $110,000, which is split between 5 people, including my publisher. So she was telling me that her takeaway from this book that hasn't even been released, that she thinks is going to come out in January, she estimates she'll make $20,000 on. My TikTok was not monetized until late February. Well, after all of my videos that went viral had been posted, so I was not able to collect on any of those videos. She said, I've made $4,000 on TikTok from my current videos. And other than that, I've never got paid for anything else in the entire time since my crime, which she's actually lying because she did get paid for the trust fund for Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, which I did ask about. She claimed at the time that she had a separate trust fund that wasn't the Mommy, Dead, and Dearest one, but that trust fund was down to $42,000. And at the time she said she had $7,000 in her checking account. So if we're just going off of...
Oh, she's a lot richer than me. Gee, do I need to go to prison to get that much money? Is that how you do it?
Of what she claimed she received just since her release. She's saying she made $150,000 off Prison Confessions, which aired in January. She's saying she made $150,000 off of this last chunk.
A house insurance bill every month. What?
$10,000 in her checking account. So if we're just going off of what she claimed she received just since her release, she's saying she made $150,000 off Prison Confessions, which aired in January. She's saying she made $150,000 off of this last chunk. That's a total.
Wow. She hasn't put there that she's having to pay lawyers. She's got a divorce she's going through. This is actually work. Like we're writing a book, even if it's someone else writing it, still a lot of work. KJ sounds sour, so envious. Welcome to capitalism.
Total of $300,000. She says 20 of that goes to her parents. That's $280,000 that she has from the series, she claims. She also has another trust fund that her parents have for $250,000.
Yes, it does. Looks like it does pay to go to prison, Laura.
She claims she's going to make another $20,000 on the book, maybe more, depending on the sales. And now, why is she going live so much on TikTok? Well, according to Christy, who told me this last week, Gypsy goes live on TikTok because every time she goes live, she's making around $800. She's getting gifts, donations from people watching her, and she's going live for cash, not because she actually cares about anyone, not because she wants to help anyone. She's going live to pay the bills. As though the $300,000 plus $20,000 plus all of these TikToks isn't enough money to live on. When she sent me all of that, she told me that her only bill at the time was buying clothes and a $400 a month health insurance bill. She doesn't pay rent. She isn't paying utilities. She doesn't have a car. She really has no bills. So my question is, where's all the money going if she's making all this money? Even so, in a short few months, she's made over $300,000. In total, over $550,000, plus a book, $570,000. And then you add in all the money she's now making on TikTok lives. This girl will easily net $1 million in the next year.
And she can't live off it? Well, because she's covering Ken, remember? She's got to support Ken. She's got flames on her eyes with jealousy. That's right. She pays all Ken's bills. She's paying his rent, isn't she? That's where the money's going.
If she says a lot of that has to go with taxes, the IRS doesn't care. Your gross income is what's before taxes. She might not be a millionaire now, but she's easily on track to becoming one, which again begs the question, is this ethical? Is this moral? Who is she actually helping? No one at all. Gypsy was going to try to help Habitat for Humanity, but she would only do it if they filmed. Habitat for Humanity in Springfield and in Louisiana declined to allow Gypsy to help build anything for them, because Habitat for Humanity actually had to file a claim against Dee Dee's estate for over $48,000 because of the house they donated to her family. Habitat for Humanity doesn't want her help. Make-A-Wish wants nothing to do with her because Gypsy was an adult when a lot of this fraud happened. And even though she says she was a child when it started, she also knew when she was an adult that she was profiting off of these fake illnesses, and she knew she wasn't sick. It's easy for everyone to get wrapped in the fact that the claims of Munchausen's, the claims of medical abuse, but then also remember that Gypsy actually had a choice as an adult to stay or go, and she didn't have to kill her mother. I was recently in a Facebook group, a post was made that included something from one of Gypsy's family members on her mom's side. It's from a TikTok. This is what the family member wrote about Gypsy.
Ooh, wow.
Back in January. There's so much I want to say being related to Gypsy's mom's side. People assume that I'm Team Gypsy, and that is the furthest from the truth. Do I love Gypsy? Of course, however, wrong is wrong. Let's start from the beginning. Yes, Dee Dee was 100% wrong. She was taking advantage of people's kindness by lying and saying Gypsy was physically ill, which was a lie. Dee Dee has had mental problems since she was in her early teens, and as a matter of fact, she was placed in a mental hospital for 60 days. You guys stop believing what you hear about or from Gypsy because she had many chances to escape from her mom. Gypsy has ran away from the age of 11. Gypsy said her mom wouldn't let her go out of her sight. But the first time meeting Nick at the show, Gypsy went to the bathroom by herself and had sex with Nick in the restroom.
What? Well, I know. I mean, there's lots of, there are so many questions about a lot of this. None of it makes any sense. But you're right, Gracely. They just accepted her word.
She went to Walmart and she stole a knife. She had every opportunity to get help. However, she never wanted help. She was enjoying the gifts, the money, the concerts, the vacations. Gypsy learned from her mother to lie and take advantage of people's kindness. Do you really believe that Gypsy was in the bathroom as her boyfriend was stabbing her mom? If so, she has you fooled. Nick stabbed Dee Dee 4 times, 4 people, not 17, but 4. Who stabbed Dee Dee 13 other times? His story isn't changing. Hers is. Gypsy used Nick to take the blame, not to kill her mom, because she was going to do that herself. But she did need help doing it, and also someone to take the rap. Did you?
So, and won't take her money when offered, but KJ fails to mention this. So did the charities make a claim on Dee Dee and get paid? Well, that's the first that we've heard about that. She could be on the hook for any government benefits she received. She could be too.
You guys know that she shot her mom and she didn't know it was a BB gun, and she really believed it was a real gun because she wanted her mother dead. Nick had no money to travel to kill Dee Dee, but Gypsy took care of him by sending him money for the bus. She also paid for a motel. She placed the knife and gloves on the porch. Did you know that she stole the knife and she stole 2 knives that were the same? Ask yourself why she would need 2 knives. These are all the feelings of a family member. And I will say that Christy Blanchard told me that most of Gypsy's mom's siblings, so Dee Dee's siblings, don't want anything to do with Gypsy. There's one family member, her cousin Bobby, who is her son of one of her mom's siblings, but everybody else, like the bulk of the siblings, they don't support Gypsy. They don't believe her story. They believe that she was way more involved than she's said, and that all of this stuff she's doing is a lie, and it's like a campaign to try to change the narrative that she's the victim. And that
yes, I understand Gypsy's wrong, but most of her life, Mum was for taking her out. But it's a big pic to look at. I think it's very complicated, isn't it?
Mom wasn't. Her family, Dee Dee's family, has recognized and validated the fact that Dee Dee was a con artist and defrauded people. They have never validated the fact that she medically abused Gypsy. They've never validated the fact that she was abusive to Gypsy. That side of the family is always silent. They don't say a lot, but they are the victim's family, and they have a right to have an opinion. So I did tell Christy in December of 2023 that if Gypsy was going to start making a lot of money, they better start getting prepared for lawsuits. And I remember Christy said that she felt like the Petries were too dumb to sue her, or too dumb to sue Gypsy. They would never do it because they didn't have the intelligence to even think about it. That's why they're doing all of this. They don't believe that anyone will sue them, allegedly. They don't believe that Gypsy's, like Dee Dee's siblings, will sue her. And I said, if she makes a couple $1 million, you better believe they're going to start consulting lawyers. They're just going to hedge their bets that it's not going to happen.
Thank you for the shout out. Good morning, and thank you for all your work you do. You can also call me Charlotte about that. That's right. Let's crack open KJ's financial. How much is she making money on a hall of what's the bet? Somebody's going to contact Dee Dee's family and offer some advice. Now,
frankly, it's like you're playing with fire, which is really what Gypsy likes to do. And the irony here is that Gypsy told me that she gave her parents $20,000, and then when I asked them about it, they denied it. I don't know who's lying, because Rod and Gypsy have a trust fund that they're not letting Gypsy touch. And Christy is on all the red carpets and really reveling in the fame as well. And they're all profiting, which begs the question, after years of estrangement, Rod and Christy, that is, why now are they back in her life? Do they really have Gypsy's best interest in her, or are they just exploiting Gypsy the same way that Dee Dee did? These are the things I still don't know. But Gypsy has made a lot of money, but it's not $3 million. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know what they are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe.
so anyway, yeah, so you thought that better with the Irish? You thought that may have been the case? Look, I wouldn't put it past her, to be fair. That would not surprise me if okay, Miss Balls shared this. Have a look at this. This is Gypsy. This is Miss Balls.
If you want to talk shit about me, by all means, I don't give an F. Go do it on your own platform, okay? Regarding my own mother, was she a good mom? No. Was she the best mom in the world? No. So what I choose to feel about her, whether that be guilt, anger, grief, resentment, whatever, that's mine to feel. No one can take away my own feelings about my own mother. And I feel like nobody should be able to have an opinion about my mother except for her family and me, because we were the people closest to her. Everybody else does not matter. If you want to talk shit about me, by all.
So what do you think about that? Who do you think she's talking about? And she's got 10 million followers, Gypsy. Funny, isn't it? I know, that's what I thought of straight away. Mm. Well, it's funny how she's changed that tune now. So let's have a look at. What's this I was just looking at? This is. Okay, the profits from notoriety. So this is what KJ's saying that Gypsy's breaching. But as I said, I'm not sure whether it comes under Louisiana or which law it comes under. So here is the definitions. The account means an escrow account in the name of defendant. Board means crime victims. So let's look at this one. Any proceeds or profits from any source received or to be received directly or indirectly by a defendant or by any agent, assignee, or representative of the defendant as a direct, indirect result of the defendant's crime or sentence for such crime, or the notoriety that such crime has conferred upon him shall be the subject to a court order requiring that such proceeds or profits be paid over to the state treasurer for deposit in the escrow account as provided in this section, if not otherwise deposited with the treasurer as provided in paragraph 2 of this subsection. Every person, firm, corporation, partnership, association, or legal entity that contracts with a defendant for any purpose described in paragraph 1 of this subsection shall file a copy of the contract with the state treasurer and shall pay over to the treasurer, commencing with the date of the first payment under the contract, any funds that otherwise, by terms of the contract, would be payable to the defendant or the defendant's agent. Assignee represent if the contracting party fails to meet obligations payment as then the treasurer through the Attorney General shall bring a civil action to the court of a competent jurisdiction to enforce payment. So, and that's all. Any proceeds from a contract with the defendant relating to a depiction or discussion of the defendant's crime in a movie, book, newspaper, magazine, radio, television production, live entertainment or publication, book, newspaper, magazine, shall be subject to court order requiring payment of such proceeds to the treasurer. So essentially, yes, you could argue, yes, the trust fund is most likely. The approach put into escrow by this chapter shall be retained for a period of 10 years after the date of the court order or deposit by the contracting party, but during that period may be levied if ordered. So the court restitution in favour of a victim of the defendant's crime, a money judgment rendered by the court, or award of reparations by the crime's victims, fees for legal representation of the defendant in criminal proceedings, yes, short order, including the appeals process, any fines. So it could be, for example, it could be just used for court fees. At the end of the 10-year period, provided for in subsection A of this section, the remaining escrow account shall be paid into the crime victims reparation fund. However, if a civil action pending against the defendant that would be eligible to be satisfied, and if the defendant has appealed his conviction, the appeal process is not finalised by the expiration of the 10-year date, then the remaining escrowed account fund shall be on hold until the appeal process has been completed. So there you go. So the people available that could have reparations, a victim of the defendant's crime or parent or legal guardian of a minor who's victim of the defendant's crime, a surviving spouse, parent, grandparent, sibling, child, any person except law enforcement officer engaged in the performance of his duties, a surviving spouse, parent, grandparent, sibling, child, any person legally. So it could be, so for example, victims outside Louisiana and any other person of this section is injured as a result outside the state shall be eligible for an award. Well, that's right. It is off Miranda's Derrick at the moment, and then the victim has to make a an intention to claim. So what's the bet? Katie's already contacted the says any action by defendant, whether by way of execution of power of attorney, creation of corporate entities, or otherwise defeat the purposes of chapter, shall be null and void. So if she has to abide by Louisiana law, then she actually has to show it all. But if it's, as I said, I don't know. So I want to show you something else. So this is my daughter's article. So this is Fashion Journal. She has been doing her internship here. She had to do an internship. She's got 2 weeks left. Do I have skin dysmorphia? This is my daughter here. And she's talking about it. Cutaneous body image describes how we perceive the image of our hair, skin, and nails. and she's a dermal clinician by trade. And so she's talking about body dysmorphic disorder. So there you go. So I'll just put this in here and you can go and have a read of it. But yeah, the fact that she's published, I'm very happy. I'm very proud. But yeah, this is the journal here. It's called Fashion Journal. So this is it here. So that's the journal that she's been working for. So anyway. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. Oh, I know something. I've been an hour and a half in and I've just gone, oh, I remember what I was going to talk about. Now, there's been lots of complaints about the Olympic Village and the food. And then I'm going to tell you what the Aussies did. I actually believe the Aussies brought in their own coffee stuff and their own barista. So, because like we have to have proper coffee. All right, Olympic vegan orientated food options concerned. Do you know they put a limit of lamb? They were only allowed to have 2 lamb chops. Now you think about a weightlifter. So if you've listened to the podcasts, Dashing Dan, the one that we do, Dashing Dan, we interviewed Damon Kelly, a weightlifter, and he was talking about the food that he ate before he went and lifted, because he's a big boy, and that they eat a lot of food, and he was. We messaged him the other day and we said, how would you go with 2 lamb chops? He said, I'd starve. So, following reports, the summit has insufficient amounts of grilled meat and eggs. Ariane Titmus, who won the gold medal for the 400-meter on Saturday, seemingly attributed posting a slower time than she anticipated due to part to the less than authentic cuisine. Probably wasn't the time I thought I was capable of, but living in the village makes it hard. It's definitely not made for high performance. So it's about who can really keep it together in their mind. Another former swim standout to the exception to the Sadiqs Go Live, the village designated food provider opting for a menu devoid of more traditional meats and proteins. The lack of world records boils down to this whole eco-friendly carbon footprint vegan first mentality rather than high performance, said James Magnuson, who last won a bronze medal in 2016. The caterer had to rejig their numbers and bring in more of those products because, surprise, surprise, world-class athletes don't have vegan diets. They must have watched the Netflix doc Game Changers and assumed everyone was the same. But let me tell you, Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, Roger Federer, none of those guys on a vegan diet. Although athletes like Brady have popularized a predominantly vegan diet, eating 80% plant-based food, according to his website, the bulk of competitors may not subscribe to the mostly vegan lifestyle. In work done by a nutrition and high mileage study, 44% of endurance runners reported having omnivorous diets compared to 34% vegans and 20.9% vegetarians, omnivores. So Yes. So, and so what Australia's done, apparently, is what do you do when the organisers don't provide you with enough food at the Olympic Village? Well, if you're an Aussie athlete, you have Taco Tuesday, because nothing screams Australia like eating food from other countries. And they have their own barista to have the coffee and have their own coffee. So they removed chicken nuggets off the menu. Lack of animal protein on the menu has led to questions of whether the world's athletes are getting enough protein in their diet to provide Olympic-worthy performances. Now, I watched the triathlon earlier today, and there were triathletes falling off their bikes, and they said they hadn't seen so many people fall off their bikes. Now, I'm not saying that's what it's due to, but you have to wonder. Thankfully for Team Australia, one team building initiative meant that our true blue champions are getting the food they need to keep competitive. Oh, look at this. Aussie Cafe Taco Bowl. Nice. As well as having access to the meal, Australian athletes have separate dining area in the Aussie section of the Olympic Village. Some luxuries in this down under paradise include a high-quality barista service, as well as a huge pantry stocked with Weet-Bix, Vegemite, Milo, oatmeal, Nutella, pretty much all the stuff you'd find at Woolies, but that's not all. The Australian Olympians also have exclusive access to something called the Tucker Box Bistro, which provides dining options. So every Tuesday throughout the Olympics, the special bistro offers Aussie athletes an option for Taco Tuesday meal, which will result in more than 1,000 tacos and tortillas being consumed. The barista also holds a pie night each week with 2,000 meat pies being shipped to feed our hungry medal. Fortunately, for the sake of fairness, Australia are not the only athletes being properly fed at the Games. 1 week in, organisers declared they have made efforts to provide more animal protein options entirely to the village. There's been a reinforcement in animal proteins with 700 kilos of eggs and a ton of meat to meet the demands of the athletes. So there's a bit of a problem. So we'll see what happens. But as I said, the weightlifters are not very happy because they've not been able to eat. So So particularly the weightlifters, they're big boys, and they haven't competed yet. Now, I was of the understanding that there were no transgender athletes, but there's allegations that some of the boxers in the women's division are actually males. And I don't know. And, of course, the women are getting done. That might explain the opening ceremony, Bo. That's correct. It may explain the opening ceremony. Did you notice that they apologized? They said it wasn't about Christianity, but we're going to apologize anyway. And it's like, well, why are you apologizing if you're saying that it wasn't supposed to be that? Why apologize? You either stand by it or you don't stand by it. And I do believe that one of the drag queens showed a little bit too much. there was that story going around, and someone had realized that somebody was actually playing ball during the opening ceremony when they weren't supposed to be. Right behind, yes. I mean, that was the thing. I think that's the thing that's got a lot of people annoyed, was that it was around children. It's getting harder and harder to protect children. I mean, we have all these child policies in place, but it seems to be that that's okay. I don't think it's okay myself. And Papa Smurf, I call him Papa Smurf, but he's come out and would you believe he's not actually blue in real life? Papa Smurf. We were talking about it at school today, and I called him Papa Smurf, and everybody sort of thought that was hilarious. So we've nicknamed him Papa Smurf. I did feel for the triathletes though, having to swim in the river when it had been deemed dirty. Okay, had my sister in, had to drop off. Okay, that's all right. We just delegated you to do all the jobs we didn't want to do, Peter. Gypsy's publishing firm would have to comply with the publishing guidelines we're doing. The agents comply with. Well, that's right. I would have thought they would have had to short order. And if they haven't, then they're disregarding the law, aren't they? So I wonder if the trust fund is actually where the money's going in for the books and stuff. They don't pay Jib. The money goes from a book, is then paid into trust. Yeah, well, that's what I think anyway. So that's probably why the trust fund is in the parent's name, I guess. You had just asked your publisher partner. Nice. I'm back. I'm back. I don't know what happened. So here we go. This was as I said, I thought they couldn't compete. I read that it was the IOC, but boxers who failed gender tests at World Champions cleared to compete at Olympics. Duo from Algeria and Chinese Taipei to box this week. Algerian and main accuses critics of big conspiracy. Now, both of these people won their match. So it was one of my jobs put in short order cooking time out. I can do that. No. The International Olympic Committee has confirmed that 2 boxers who were disqualified from the World Championships last year for failing gender eligibility tests will be allowed to fight in Paris. A main of Adura and Ling Yiting of Chinese Taipei, Taiwan, both start their Olympic campaigns this week. One will meet Italian Angelo Canini in the 66 category, and Lin is expected to face an unnamed opponent. They both won, by the way. The IOC's decision will be controversial, with the former world champion Barry McGuire expressing his unease. In the post on X, he wrote, "It's shocking that they've actually allowed to get this far. What is going on? The situation has arisen because the World Championships last year was run under the auspices of the International Boxing Association, whose Yuma Karamlov told the Russian news TASS DNA tests had proved that XY chromosomes were thus excluded from sports events." What? The IBA told The Guardian it made the decision following a comprehensive review and was intended to uphold the fairness and integrity of the competition. Since then, the IBA has been banned from running the Olympic boxing tournament in Paris because of the long-running questions surrounding governance issues and judging scandals. That means the boxing in Paris is now run under the auspices of the IOC's Paris 2024 boxing unit, which has more relaxed rules than the IBA. So, now, however, the IOC's own MyInfo website acknowledges that both boxers failed gender eligibility tests last year. So what happened in the last 12 months that now has allowed them to compete? In its internal system, which is provided to journalists in Paris, the IOC states that Kelly was disqualified just hours before her gold medal showdown against Yang Lu in 2023 World Championships in New Delhi, India, after her elevated levels of testosterone failed to meet the eligibility criteria. The IOC also acknowledges that Lin was stripped of her bronze medal after failing to meet eligibility requirements. Lin does not appear to have spoken about the situation, however, claims to be the victim of the big conspiracy after being disqualified. People who have conspired against Algeria so its flag doesn't get raised and doesn't win gold. Rules regarding who should compete in the female category have been hotly contested in recent years, but there's been less debate about combat sports where the risk of serious injury and death is far higher. Scientific research has found that the average punching power is 162% greater in those who have gone through male puberty compared to females. And they are competing. And they won. I believe they won, and you should have seen the girls they were up against. In fact, so the boxing, I thought they'd already started to play, but apparently this is here. This is them here. You tell me. So Riley Gaines has been very outspoken about it. She's the one that's really been about transgender athletes. So this is Algeria. So the one in the blue is the transgender.
De nueva cuenta el recto en combinación hasta 5 golpes alcanzó a conectar, manejándose con el jab y otra vez en la combinación ahí en el upper, otro golpe.
I have no idea. Got no idea. This is a previous fight here, but have a look at the punches. 162%. Look at that. Oh. And of course, Algeria is saying that's a conspiracy, but it's about the fact, in my opinion, that
Tengan el pleito, la velocidad de cara como.
and of course they win. So XY is male, XX is female. Correct. Oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense. I got no idea. For me, I mean, playing the sports is one thing, but combat sports, I think, is scary. I think one day a woman's going to die. I don't understand how they can fail so this is the UK. This is the UK Telegraph. This one's reporting the UK is saying that they failed testosterone tests, but they're still allowed in. Last year they failed everything, but this year it's okay. Olympic organisers sources had previously told the Telegraph Sport there were nine athletes who were out as either transgender or with differences of sexual development at these games in women's categories, but obviously there are. All athletes participating in the boxing tournament of the Olympic Games Paris comply with the competition's eligibility and entry regulations, as well as all applicable medical regulations. So according to NHS data, testosterone levels in a younger, healthy male typically range between 20 and 30, while women have between 0.7 and 2.8. The IOC eventually threw out its 2015 uniform postal policy in 2021 and put the onus onto the governing bodies. Of course they have. So they've finished off this article saying there are no British fighters in the weight categories for the pair. So to say, well, that's okay, we're not going to be affected by at the end of it because we're not going to have anybody in this. So it seems to be there is a bit of so the IOC said that they won't step in. Who would have thought that drug testing athletes in the 80s would lead to this? So they said they're not going to stop the fighters from. You got kicked out. How? And apparently Zambia's got a person in question as well, due to her natural testosterone levels being above those allowed by the Confederation of African Football. So imagine training your whole life, getting good enough to earn a spot in the Olympic team, hoping to win an Olympic medal, and then you're told you have to fight a man. She posted on Twitter. That's the reality of these women. The IC has not been moved. Everyone competing in the women's category is compliant to eligibility. They are women in their passports. It's stated in the case. They are female. The athletes have competed many times for many years. They haven't just suddenly arrived. So this is the Zambia player that there's questions over it. So yeah. So there's obviously a few, but between Canada's spying scandal, testosterone, the Last Supper debacle, I'd say a lot of reverence for the games is gone for me. Well, yeah, I don't think the viewerships. It's interesting. I teach 28 kids music. I asked every one of them had they watched the Olympic Games. I think 2 had said they'd seen some form of it. 2. However, one of the students, ex-students, is actually made it into the Olympic Games, so the school's trying to hype that up. Apparently played volleyball at school, was quite good, went to the US and changed the beach volleyball, so now he's a beach volleyballer. So everybody, yeah, it's a very weird. Oh no! Look at this. Oh no! So just share this. Go through all these years of training. Have a look at this. It says the bee ruined it. You're all the bee ruined it. You go through all this. Look, watch this. no, the bee. Oh, 19 athlete, yes. In fact, one of the Australian swimmers pulled out of their race last night because of COVID. It's going through the Olympic Village. Although I did hear one of the Australians say that they've taken it seriously, but other countries don't seem to take it seriously at all. So that must be frustrating as well. And at some point in time, you know, there has to be some type of, uniformity. So okay, so you wanted to know, here is Amelia Bird's. Here's an article on Amelia Bird's case. So she was charged in a conspiracy to murder her mother. She was 18, so she's 18. It happened when she was 16, I think. Nearly a year. After a defense asked for continuance, she's charged with first-degree murder, first-degree assault. Her and her 21-year-old boyfriend conspired to conceal her parents in 2006. Her mother, Christina Byrne, was killed in the shooting. Her father, William Buddy Bird, seriously wounded. Bradley Court's records show, she reportedly in her parents' house the night of the shooting, made the 911 call. They quickly discovered conflicting stories, who alleged the man wearing a hooded coat and baseball cap shot her parents and Brantley. Brantley, he's charged with first-degree murder and could face the death penalty. Bird, who was 16 at the time of the crime, was certified as an adult and faces a maximum of life imprisonment. So she was 16 when it happened. They said the pair planned the shooting and that Brantley was standing at the sliding glass door of the home. She made the call for help. They were arrested the following day. Christina Bird died at the scene. Buddy Bird was taken to the hospital where he recovered. Right. So why did she get 2 life sentences then? She pled guilty. She pled guilty to second-degree murder, first-degree assault. She received 2 life sentences to be served consecutively. She'll be eligible for parole when she's 72. And he was found guilty of 4 counts. And a part of his plea deal, he testified against her. So it says here she was being sexually and physically abused, apparently. It's funny, I I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I just find it very interesting that it always, she tried to escape drug use. Apparently he was violent, that she wished her father and brother dead. He broke into the house, Shamili's parents while she was sleeping. Mum was killed. The man who'd been abusing her lived. She was accused of having her boyfriend shoot her parents. She pled guilty to second-degree murder. The only person who could do that is Millie has so much life to live. She's a victim. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, that's why, as I said, I don't know all the, I would have to read, I'd have to read the statements and everything, but she, at the end of the day, she pled guilty, and that means that there's no trial, and says Amelia never got a chance to go to trial, but she never got a chance to go to trial either, Gypsy. Yeah, it's just odd. So now defense has to claim something, having a Brady Bunch childhood gets no sympathy. Yeah. But isn't it funny? It's always Gypsy blamed the boyfriend, and she's blamed. They all blame their boyfriends for being the bad one. Isn't that weird? Well, that's right. That negates the trial. You're right. That negates the trial. There's not much you can do about it. To be, and the only way is if there is some. See, normally under the double jeopardy law, the only way you can get retried called Monster Eileen. Yeah. I'm just finding the whole thing very bizarre. I think so. I think you're right. I think you are right. I think she could have got life. I think that's a very good point there. But I do think you're right. I think she could have got life. But didn't she testify against Nick as well? mean, it's funny. Everyone says that Gypsy's a liar, but they'll believe her when they want to believe her. Mm. Anyway, I've been on for nearly over 2 hours now. Whoa. I probably should head to Betty Buys. I think the case had an element of diminished responsibility, but look, there's a few that have 10 years for murder as a deal I knew full would pass on, and yes, she was the key to witnesses. Of course, if you're offered 10 years, you'd take it, right? And yet she was out in 8. Of course you'd take it. Well, I've used all the bad words because I figured they've demonetized me anyway. So what's the point? Why should I try and save my monetization on the video? Like, I said I'll give it a good go. Otherwise, I have to wait till October. So that's all right. We just do what we have to do. Try again in October, but I want me money. So. All right, well, we'll see what happens tomorrow. See whether we get any new information, but I doubt it, right? I doubt that we'll get. But the you know, for Katie to say that she's not vindictive, I think we've seen that she is vindictive. And to the Wilkins, please be very careful. Don't upset her because she will destroy you, in my opinion. But I wish I could find a I wish I could find a thing that would just automatically live stream TikTok videos. No, I'm not following the suitcase murder. No. Because if I could, yeah. But anyway. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining me. Please make sure you hit subscribe, and I will catch you probably. Tomorrow night. I'll be doing some pre-recorded stuff tomorrow anyway. So there'll be some pre-recorded stuff going up in the next couple of days. Yeah, we'll see how we go. I'll catch you later. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Bye for now.